reason geniuses like Picasso, Nietzsche, and Dostoevsky went insane in 1889. In a small room in Turin, Friedrich Nietzsche collapsed in the street, screaming and embracing a horse. He never recovered. Around the same time, across Europe, Vincent van Gogh cut off his own ear, and Fyodor Dostoevsky spent his life in the grip of seizures so violent. He believed he had touched God during them. Three of the greatest minds in human history, and all three, in their own way, broke for over a century. We've called this the price of genius. But what if that's wrong? What if something was happening inside these minds? Something measurable. Something we can actually see. Something that explains not only why they created masterpieces, but why those same minds seem to destroy themselves. By the end of this video, you'll understand a pattern so strange and so consistent that once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. And it might explain something about your own mind, too. Let's start with Nietzsche. Most people know him as the philosopher who declared, "God is dead." Fewer know that during the last 11 years of his life, he could no longer write a coherent sentence. He signed letters as Dionysus and the Crucified. Doctors of his time blamed syphilis. But modern neurologists who have re-examined his case have proposed something else. Possibly a slow-growing condition affecting the frontal lobe, the same region associated with creativity, language, and personality. And here's the unsettling part. In the years before his collapse, Nietzsche's writing became more radical, more intense, more brilliant than ever. Some of his greatest works, including Thus Spoke Zarathustra, were written during this period. Which raises a disturbing question. Was the same process that destroyed his mind also helping fuel his genius? Now consider Dostoevsky. He suffered from epilepsy, temporal lobe seizures, to be specific, and he described the moments before those seizures as experiences of absolute bliss. Perfect clarity. A feeling of touching eternity itself. He poured those experiences directly into his fiction. Most famously, into Prince Myshkin in The Idiot. Today, neuroscientists use a term called temporal lobe hyperconnectivity. It's a state in which brain regions that normally operate separately begin firing together. Sound connects with color. Memory connects with emotion. Abstract ideas connect with physical sensation. In most people, this kind of cross-wiring produces seizures. But in Dostoevsky, it also produced some of the most psychologically profound literature ever written. So now we have two extraordinary minds, both with documented neurological conditions, and both producing some of their greatest work during the very years those conditions were active. Coincidence? Perhaps. But there's a third case, and this one may be the strangest of all. Pablo Picasso lived to 91. No seizures, no tumor, no obvious disorder, at least not one that killed him. But people who knew him described something unsettling, an almost complete absence of empathy. Picasso once said that there were only two kinds of women, goddesses, and doormats. And eventually, every woman in his life became the second. Several women who loved him attempted suicide. One eventually succeeded, decades after their relationship ended. Psychologists studying creativity have noticed something intriguing. Certain traits, often considered dark traits, low empathy, obsessive focus, a willingness to ignore social rules, appear more frequently among highly creative individuals than among the general population. Not always, not even most of the time, but more often than chance alone would predict. Which brings us to the real question. Is genius a gift with a terrible cost? Or are creativity and madness simply different expressions of the same mechanism? And if they are, what exactly is that mechanism? Researchers keep returning to an idea known as reduced latent inhibition. In simple terms, most brains have a filter. It quietly removes the vast majority of information flowing into your mind. Without that filter, life would become overwhelming. Every sound, every memory, every emotion, every possible connection, all arriving at once. But in highly creative people, that filter appears to be weaker. More information gets through, more connections are formed. A word doesn't trigger one meaning. It triggers 5. A color doesn't remain just a color. It becomes a memory, an emotion, perhaps even a sound. Many creative people describe this sensation as experiencing everything at once. And some researchers believe this overlap may help explain why creativity and certain forms of mental illness appear together more often than chance would predict. Not because madness creates genius, and not because genius inevitably leads to madness, but because both may sometimes arise from similar underlying tendencies. But here's the twist that changes everything. This trait alone predicts neither genius nor madness. Something else determines the outcome. A second trait. One that almost nobody talks about. And strangely enough, many of history's most troubled minds were also among its most disciplined. So in Part 2, we'll explore the hidden trait that may separate a mind that collapses from a mind that changes the world. If you enjoy exploring the mysteries behind history's greatest minds, subscribe. Because next time, we're opening the mind of someone who may be the strangest case of all.